It is possible for two sets of three-way switches, 4 in total, to share the same travelers. This wiring configuration allows control of a 3-lamp fixture with inboard and outboard switching using only one set of travelers. Here's how it works. Firstly, connect the power source. Connect the power source, the hot wire, to the common terminal of one of the three-way switches in each set. Secondly, connect the travelers. Run the two traveler wires, usually black and red, between the traveler terminals of the two switches in each set. This means that each traveler wire will be connected to a different switch in each set. Thirdly, connect the fixture. Connect the three wires, inboard, outboard, and neutral, from the 3-lamp fixture to the remaining terminals of the switches. Connect the inboard lamp to the inboard terminal on both switches. Connect the outboard lamps to the outboard terminals on both switches. Connect the neutral wire to the neutral terminals on both switches. Fourthly, install the switches. Install all 4 switches in their respective double guide boxes. With this wiring configuration, each set of three-way switches shares the same travelers, allowing independent control of the inboard and outboard lamps. When you operate one switch in a set, it will change the state of the shared travelers, which in turn changes the state of the corresponding lamps controlled by the other switch in the same set. Let's delve into each step with greater detail. Consider the scenario where you have a 3-lamp fixture, perhaps for aesthetic or functional purposes, and you want to control it from 2 different locations. Furthermore, you wish to have a level of granularity in your control, specifically the ability to switch the center lamp or inboard lamp independently from the 2 outer lamps or outboard lamps. This is where the configuration of 2 sets of three-way switches sharing the same travelers becomes relevant. Firstly, the power source connection is paramount. The hot wire, which carries the electrical current, must be connected to the common terminal of one of the three-way switches in each set. The common terminal is typically identified by a different colored screw, often black, compared to the traveler terminals. This connection essentially feeds the electrical power into the switching circuit. It is imperative to ensure that the power is disconnected at the circuit breaker before initiating any wiring work to prevent electrical shock. Use a reliable voltage tester to verify the absence of voltage before proceeding. Secondly, the traveler connection is crucial for the three-way switching functionality. The 2 traveler wires, commonly black and red, act as pathways for the electrical current to flow between the 2 switches in each set. These wires are connected to the traveler terminals of the switches, which are typically brass-colored screws. It is important to maintain consistency in the wiring, for example, connecting the black traveler wire to the same traveler terminal on both switches in the set. This simplifies troubleshooting and ensures proper operation. Thirdly, the fixture connection involves wiring the 3 lamps, inboard, outboard, and the neutral wire to the appropriate terminals on the switches. The inboard lamp, which is the center lamp, is connected to a dedicated terminal on both switches. This terminal effectively isolates the inboard lamp, allowing it to be switched independently. The outboard lamps, which are the 2 outer lamps, are connected to another dedicated terminal on both switches. These terminals control the outer lamps collectively. The neutral wire, which provides the return path for the electrical current, is connected to the neutral terminals on both switches. The neutral connection is essential for completing the electrical circuit. It is important to use appropriately sized wire connectors to ensure secure and reliable connections. Fourthly, the installation of the switches involves mounting them securely in their respective double guide boxes. Ensure that the switches are properly aligned and flush with the wall surface. Use appropriate screws to secure the switches to the electrical box. After installing the switches, carefully tuck the wires into the electrical box, ensuring that they are not pinched or damaged. Once all the connections are made and the switches are installed, restore power at the circuit breaker and test the functionality of the switching circuit. Verify that the inboard lamp and the outboard lamps can be switched independently from both switch locations. If any issues arise, double-check the wiring connections and consult with a qualified electrician. By sharing the same travelers, the 2 sets of three-way switches achieve a unique functionality. Each switch in a set alters the state of the shared travelers, which in turn affects the lamps controlled by the other switch in the same set. This allows for flexible control of the lighting arrangement for multiple locations. Furthermore, this configuration simplifies the wiring by reducing the number of wires required between the switch locations. In summary, the configuration of two sets of three-way switches sharing the same travelers provides a practical and efficient solution for controlling a three-lamp fixture with inboard and outboard switching from two different locations. By following the steps outlined above and paying close attention to detail, you can successfully implement this wiring configuration and achieve the desired lighting control. This concept can be extrapolated for different number of lamps for additional functionality. You can extend this concept to lighting controls for various applications, such as controlling a series of lights in a hallway or a set of lights in a room with multiple entrances. You could also utilize this configuration to control other electrical devices, such as fans or appliances, for multiple locations. The key is to understand the principles of three-way switching and how they can be applied to different scenarios. Moreover, adhering to electrical codes and safety standards is of utmost importance when working with electrical wiring. Always consult with a qualified electrician if you are unsure about any aspect of the wiring process. By prioritizing safety and following proper procedures, you can ensure a successful and reliable installation. The use of appropriately sized wires is crucial to prevent overheating and potential fire hazards. The wire gauge should be selected based on the amperage of the circuit and the length of the wire run. Use a wire gauge chart to determine the appropriate wire size for your specific application. Furthermore, the electrical box should be properly sized to accommodate the wires and devices without overcrowding. Overcrowding can lead to overheating and potential safety issues. It is also important to ensure that the electrical box is securely mounted to the wall or ceiling. Furthermore, consider the placement of the switches and the fixture to ensure optimal functionality and aesthetics. The switches should be located in convenient and accessible locations. The fixture should be positioned to provide adequate lighting for the intended purpose. Consider the overall design of the room when determining the placement of the switches and the fixture. In addition to the basic wiring configuration, there are several variations and enhancements that can be implemented to further customize the lighting control system. For example, you can add a dimmer switch to control the brightness of the lamps. You can also install a timer switch to automatically turn the lamps on and off at specific times. Furthermore, you can integrate the lighting control system with a home automation system to control the lights remotely using a smartphone or tablet. The possibilities are endless. This is very useful for a long hallway with lights for access from either end. Consider the use of smart bulbs to create independent zoning of your lamps controlled by your switches. This could be very useful when you want to have more than just on or off control of one particular zone of the lamps controlled. Keep in mind to keep the proper grounds and neutrals connected at each set of switches. If there is a break in the neutral or ground, this can cause erratic issues and can become unsafe to the touch. Do some research into ground fault interrupter, or GFCI, outlets and circuit breakers for maximum protection against shocks if this wiring were to become compromised. It is also a good idea to label the circuit breaker that controls the switches and the fixture. This will make it easier to identify the circuit in the future for maintenance or troubleshooting purposes. Use a permanent marker or a label maker to create a clear and legible label. Attach the label to the circuit breaker panel near the corresponding circuit breaker. Remember that it is very dangerous to work with electricity and should be done only by trained professionals. You can also consult with an electrical engineer to ensure that the wiring configuration meets all applicable codes and standards. An electrical engineer can also provide guidance on the selection of appropriate materials and devices. Furthermore, it is important to keep accurate records of the wiring configuration. This will be helpful for future maintenance or modifications. Create a wiring diagram and keep it in a safe place. The wiring diagram should include all the details of the wiring configuration, including the wire colors, the terminal connections, and the device locations. Keep in mind that electrical codes and standards vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. It is important to comply with the codes and standards that are applicable in your area. Contact your local building department or electrical inspector to obtain information about the applicable codes and standards. The principles of three-way switching can be applied to a wide range of applications. Understanding these principles can empower you to design and implement customized lighting control systems to meet your specific needs. Whether you are controlling a single lamp or a complex network of lights, the fundamentals of three-way switching remain the same. Also, there are many different types of switches and fixtures available on the market. Choosing the right switches and fixtures for your application is important. Consider the style, the functionality, and the cost when making your selection. Read reviews and compare different products before making a purchase. This information can also be applied to many other electronic systems. It is extremely important to properly research what you're working on and that you feel safe, comfortable, and confident in your abilities to complete the task at hand. If you do not feel comfortable, it is best to reach out to a qualified technician who can complete the job for you to ensure that no damage or harm comes to you. The use of proper tools and equipment is essential for safe and efficient wiring. Use insulated screwdrivers, wire strippers, and pliers to avoid electrical shock. Wear safety glasses to protect your eyes from debris. Use a voltage tester to verify the absence of voltage before working on any electrical circuit. These tools can be found at your local hardware store. Be sure to do some research on what you need and how to use it so that you can be prepared to work safely. Electrical work can be a complex and challenging task. It is important to take your time and pay attention to detail. Rushing through the process can lead to mistakes and potential safety hazards. Double-check all your connections and ensure that everything is properly installed before restoring power. Remember that safety is always the top priority. By following these guidelines, you can safely and effectively implement a three-way switching configuration. The possibilities are endless.